Yo, what is up, guys? It is your boy Lucidius back in the studio crafting you guys up another banger. And now today's video is slightly different, but still on the subject of drugs. What else do I have to talk about, right? Now, at first I was going to name this video my first time doing kratom, but looking back on it, I kind of just want to wrap it all up and give an overall review for the substance, because nothing ever crazy really happened on this drug, and I just found it to be honestly just like comparable to coffee, but in like a downer type way. And that's really the sum of it. So if you want to click off the video, do that, but I will go into depth about it. Apologies there, I had to pause the recording because my dog started yapping. But anyway, let's just get into my overall experience. So this substance is quite easy to buy in Canada, at least, and for what I know, it's pretty easy to acquire in the US as well. The rest of the world, I don't know. If you live in fucking Thailand, you should be able to just pick that off a tree. So if you live there and you're watching this video, go craft that shit. But overall, I had to fucking find this shit on the clear net, which, like I said, wasn't too hard. And I spent a little bit of time kind of trying to find like a good website and a good brand, and not advertising anything, but Reddit is a place of degeneracy, and you can find a lot of good opinions on things on there. And eventually I found a preferable website that had some good reviews on Reddit, which kind of told me that it was a decent batch, at least, of the substance that they were currently selling. And so I decided to buy some. Now, originally, I had like tricked myself and my girlfriend at the time that didn't even want me like drinking too much coffee. Like, I was off drugs at this point completely. And I eventually fell back into it one last time. Hopefully, fingers crossed, that's the last time. But I was getting it for her period cramps because I'd finally, she had decided to get off birth control just because of all the adverse side effects, and I was kind of advocating for that as well. And so getting off of it, one of her main problems was just the horrible period cramps that she had been experiencing all her life. So I was like, why not buy some kratom and use that, because it's a plant-based opioid, and I actually saw a lot of good reviews for it in that use case. A lot of women were saying that it worked quite well. And so I bought like a green strain, I think. There's like green, white, red, yellow. Personally, I don't really know if it makes a difference because I only tried one strain and never really tried it again. But you know what? I'm down to try that shit again. I really am. I do that shit. I don't consider it really a drug. So after acquiring it for her, I tried it the same day that she tried it. Or actually, that's cap. That's complete bullshit. I tested it by myself while she was at school or some shit, because I graduated early. So, I was at home all alone, waiting and kind of thinking for some shit to do. And this, I had this stuff. So I was like, fuck it, dude. I'm gonna pop this shit. And at the time, I had actually, ironically enough, just started working at a pharmacy. So I finished work first. Then after getting home, I just popped a bunch of these motherfuckers. I kind of figured out that like 5 grams was a heavy dosage. So I started off with like 2 or 3. And you see, the problem with being a drug addict and trying to test a plant-based opioid is like, this shit isn't codeine. These aren't Percocets. This isn't morphine. It's very subtle, almost like a coffee-like stimulant high, but in an opioid way. And so I started to try and chase that dragon. At first, I felt like sedated, or almost like stomach discomfort, which kind of had me sedated. I just didn't, couch locked almost. Like, I just didn't want to move because I felt kind of sick. But after that wore off, I felt like really good, honestly. It's comparable to like a couple fucking T3s, you could say, like 2 or 3 of them, like it was very subtle, very light, but very, very nice. So I chased that dragon, and I continued to do like 3 or 4 grams more, which is where mistakes were made. See, around the 5 to 6 gram mark, you just start to get like really nauseous, like incredibly nauseous. And I found myself like super sedated, like just laying on my couch, just hoping for it to go away, praying that I don't throw up. And eventually it went away and the day ended. And I continued to test the substance, and I found out that like kratom tea was a very like, it was like one of the best ways to consume it. It had the best bioavailability, and also like it didn't affect your stomach as much. So I found like a alright recipe with like lemon juice and shit, and I made myself some kratom tea and drunk that disgusting sludge down. And to be honest, I say it was disgusting, but honestly it wasn't horrible. It didn't taste like delicious or anything. It was like slightly bitter, and it kind of was like a green tea. That's the best way to describe it. And this is where I started to feel super amazing. I loved this shit so much. Like, I would play video games on it, and I felt like dialed in and relaxed and calm. And this became like a morning routine. I'd just wake up and like go to the gym or eat some food, and then afterwards I would make myself a nice kratom tea and enjoy the rest of my day. And that shit was fucking amazing, honestly. And my girlfriend quite enjoyed it too. I mean, like I said, once you go past a certain amount, you just throw up, so it's like not worth it at all. But it really did help with her period cramps for the most part. The only problem with hers is her period cramps lasted like 2-3 days, and so she would have to pop this like continuously throughout the day, which would just cause nausea by the end of it. And the couple times she threw up, the poor thing. But me, I was just getting high on this shit. And she got pissed off at me because I was just taking it, and she's like, yo, those are supposed to be for my period cramps, you told me that was for me. And I was like, man, shut your bitch ass up. I bought this, I'm taking it. And yeah, that I did. I took a shit ton of it. I took it and drove, like I honestly just enjoyed the shit out of it. Like I said, I keep yapping, but it was fire. And yeah, I mean, that was kind of all I have to say about this substance. Once again, like, it's very beautiful, it's very amazing, very similar to like a subtle coffee like feeling. Would I try it again? Yes. Do I recommend it? Not particularly, but for those of you that are maybe like trying to get off opioids or maybe get off benzos, yeah, 100%. I mean, even if you're trying to quit weed, I'd say that this shit is definitely a better option, because it's really not inhibiting like other drugs are at all. You could go to work on it, you could go to the gym on it, which I did actually, and I didn't notice any negative effects. I found that I was super calm during my workout, which some of you might find as a negative, but it really depends on how I'm feeling. I found that to be quite a positive because it added a little spice to things, Unfortunately, though, it kind of just turned into an addiction, and I would like fiend for it every day, and sometimes I'd have like 2 cups, and I really started like chasing that dragon, I would pop it like continuously. I got past the nausea. I was just taking it all the time. And you kind of lose the magic really fast if you start to abuse that, like all drugs, And that was kind of the end of that, I do have one story. I ended up passing my G2 while fucking, I'm not going to say blasted, but I passed my G2 on kratom, if that kind of gives you some idea of how subtle this substance is. And I needed that fucking kratom for my G2. I was geeking, I had failed my G2 like a couple times before, so I desperately needed something to take the edge off that like wasn't weed, obviously wasn't alcohol or some sort of GABAergic substance, and kratom was the choice. And I took like 2.5-3 grams, was feeling like super subtle and buzzed on the way there, hit that shit up, parked properly, parallel parked, boom, done, reversing, boom, done, pulling up to the stop signs properly, the professional driving shit. Speaking of professional driving, just wait until you hear the upcoming video. But anyway, guys, if you did like this shit, obviously like it and subscribe. This is different from some of my other videos. This is just my personal opinion on a substance. It was great, So yeah, see ya.